Hey guys, welcome to the episode 5 of the podcast Beyond the Peel, your journey to self transformation. Today I'm going to talk about a term called healing. I know whenever people hear that, they get a little confused about what the hell is this. So I'm going to clarify a few doubts here. I'm going to provide what my take on this term is, when why it is really important for everyone to understand what it is and then apply it on their own lives. All right, so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. If you're interested in that, do keep watching and listening. Without further ado, I'm going to get started. Before I start with the theoretical explanation of what healing is, I want to start off with a book that I'm reading. There is a snippet from that book that really fits into this context and what I'm going to talk about today. So the book that I'm reading is The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. It's a great book on personal development. I have loved it so far. I have not yet finished it. I bought it last week, but I've not yet finished it. I'm reading it and I'm loving every bit of it. So I'm going to read a snippet of this book, as that's really a good segue into what we're going to discuss today. All right. So this is what it says: You were born into the opportunity as well as the responsibility to become legendary. You have been built to achieve masterwork level projects, designed to realize unusually important pursuits, and constructed to be a force for good on this tiny planet. You have it in you to reclaim sovereignty over your primal greatness in a civilization that has become fairly uncivilized. To restore your nobility in a global community where majority shops for nice shoes and acquires expensive things, yet rarely invest in their better self. Your personal leadership requires, no, demands that you stop being a cyber zombie relentlessly attached to digital devices and restructure your life to model mastery, exemplify decency, and relinquish the self centeredness that keeps good people limited. So, this snippet from this book, in short, in one line, what it says is that everybody who's born on this planet, they are born to be legendary. Everybody possesses the skills that they need to excel in their life. Nobody in this world need to stay stagnant. Nobody needs to stay stuck where there is no problem that is bigger than themselves. All right, that is what this snippet talks about, that we all already have it within us to achieve whatever we want to achieve. There is nothing that can literally stop us, unless we are not willing to do that effort and get above our obstacles and rise to where we want to. So this is what this snippet actually means, and why am I talking about it in the context of healing? I'll just explain that in a bit. So in our childhood, right, since our childhood, there have been lot of instances, there have been lot of experiences that we have had, which have shaped the personality that we are today, the way we react to a particular situation. Because as an example, maybe your household, you were living in a joint family setup, and you have seen how people really love each other, they really stay with each other. Or if there are conflicts, how are the conflicts resolved? So you have really seen that as in when you grew up, as opposed to someone who has been in a nuclear family, and that nuclear family has been very nuclear in a way that they have not really spoken with a lot of peoples, and their social circle was very very small, as opposed to the other family which I earlier described. So you being a child of one of these houses, if you are born in a house which is having a joint family setup, and you have what you've seen from your childhood is that your social skills are really really important, and that's what you learn as in when you grow up. You know how to resolve conflicts, even if there are, right? You know how to be with people, be around people, discuss anything and everything with them, even if they are your distant relatives or your close ones. So you have seen that as in when you grow up. Whereas a child who's grown in a nuclear family setup, and even that nuclear family doesn't have a very big social circle, they would not have a lot of experience of how to deal with people, or how to have a good social life, or what importance of a social life really is. So the upbringing for both of these children is very different. None of them is right or wrong. It's just the way it is how they have been brought up. Now both of these children, when they grow up, their personalities are going to be very very different. The way they react to situations, that is going to be very very different. So what really has happened is, whatever our childhood traumas have been, right? I am not going to talk much about that greener side of our childhood, because everybody has had that. Not to say I don't respect positivity, I do, but for the context of explaining to you what healing means, I'm going to use the word childhood traumas. All right, all these childhood traumas that we have seen since we were growing up, they have become a part of our personality. Now that reminds me, there is another snippet from this book which I'm going to read out aloud, because it again really syncs well with what I'm trying to explain about healing. All right, so just bear with me. So what this says is, I know you've had some difficult times in your lives. We all have. I get that you might be feeling things haven't turned out the way you thought they would when you were a little kid, full of fire, desire, and wonder. You didn't plan on each day looking the same, did you? In a job that might be smothering your soul, dealing with stressful worries and endless responsibilities that stifle your originality and steal your energy, lusting after unimportant pursuits and hungry for instant fulfillment of trivial desires, often driven by a technology that enslaved us instead of liberating us. Living the same week 1,000 times and calling it a life. That's what we all are really doing. I need to tell you that too many amongst us die at 30 and buried at 80. So I do get you. You hoped things would be different, more interesting, more exciting, more fulfilling, special, and magical. But sadly, they are not, right? So that is what life is about, right? So whatever we have seen since childhood, whatever, when we were growing up, the types of people that we met with, now suppose you're in your 30s or in your 20s, you have had a lot of experiences, and all those experiences are really sitting inside your mind. And some random day you will start thinking about it. You might be feeling, few days you get up and you're like sad for no reason, pata nahi kyun ho raha hai aisa, I don't know, I don't feel like talking with people. Or maybe you have had a fight with someone, you really don't know how to have an open communication with them, or in some cases you want to speak with the person, पर वो अंदर से वो gut feeling नहीं आ रही, कैसे बात करूं मैं, कैसे शुरू करूं. So all of these things and emotions which are really buried inside of us, that's very common. All of us are living in that age. And nowadays, I think I've spoken about it in previous podcast episodes as well. Nowadays our lives are so fast moving, right? Ghar fir office, there are just so many responsibilities that an individual is handling. There is literally no time to just sit and think about how you are feeling, and let alone curing all of those emotions, right? So that is how we have been since our childhood. That is what we are now. That is what we are dealing with. That is what everybody is dealing with, right? Now if I were to give you a very very simple example, suppose you are a 5-year-old kid and I have to explain you what healing is in the context of what I'm saying now. So when you were a child, right? Or example, if now you have your parents, your child is there and he or she is sad for some reason, and when he sees you, like मेरे साथ तो बहुत बार ऐसा होता है, my son, he is maybe sad for some reason, and then when he sees my face out of nowhere in the crowd, he immediately looks at me and he starts crying. He comes and hugs me and he starts crying, which means that he was he was wanting to be with me, he wanted to hug me, but he was just not getting the outlet because all other people that he was sitting with, they were all strangers. So what did he need at that moment? He just needed one hug to make him feel really good because he was having a bad day. Or in some cases, maybe when you were children, you fell down, right? And then when you came home, one of your parent, he or she applied the ointment and did that patti and all of that, and you were like, ठीक है, now it will get better. वो आपको psychologically हाँ लग गया, you got that assurity from your parents की हाँ this will get better, right? So उस तरह से आपको थोड़ा श्योरिटी मिला एंड यू फेल्ट गुड अबाउट इट, एंड देन यू बेसिकली फॉरगॉट अबाउट दैट वुंड, और आप अपना नॉर्मल खेलने लगे, पढ़ने लगे, वॉट एवर, यू जस्ट स्टार्टेड डीलिंग विद दैट. सो दैट इज वन इंस्टेंस. Or when you were too young, right? Abhi, I'll take my son's example because now I see my childhood in them, and children are just so pure, right? They don't have all of these complicated emotions that we have. So if at all, there is some fight that happened between him and his friend, he comes home, he tells me that mama आज ये हुआ, उसने ऐसा किया, उसने वैसा किया, उसने मारा, मैंने मारा, whatever. He is really open about that, and then I just explain him that it's okay, you have to go. And then within half an hour he goes and patches up with his friend. He's like ठीक है यार. They don't even the other child who's of the same age, they don't even think about what happened. They just go and just talk normally, and अगर कुछ discuss करना, they just discuss and they move on with life. So, in all of these three instances, what is common? The common thing here is that there is a way that those children have adapted to a situation, right? Whether it was that physical pain that they were facing because there was that wound, whether it was that social problem that they were having with their friend, or whether it was that emotional pain that they were facing when they wanted a hug from their mother. सब केसेस में ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स नीडेड हीलिंग, राइट? अब हीलिंग का मतलब क्या है? कोई भी आपको प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, उसको आप कैसे ठीक करोगे सो दैट यू लिव अ नॉर्मल लाइफ एंड यू फील गुड अबाउट इट. सो इन सिंपल वर्ड्स, हीलिंग का हमें मतलब पता है. जब हमें चोट लग जाती है, हम मतलब उसके ऊपर कुछ पट्टी वट्टी करते हैं एंड वी हील दैट वुंड हील्स इटसेल्फ. तो इस हीलिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट जो है, इट अप्लाइज टू एवरी एरिया. इट्स नॉट ओनली अबाउट दैट फिजिकल हीलिंग. येस, ऑब्वियसली इट अप्लाइज टू फिजिकल हीलिंग एज वेल. चोट लग गई, then based after the medicine your body will recover and it will heal on its own. It applies to emotional as well. Like if you are not really feeling good about something, right? So you need to find ways, you need to find tools and techniques to cure that emotional feeling and get over with it. For the social example, wherein you want to have a good relationship with a friend because you really vibed together, whatever, but for some weird reason, we as adults, we make things complicated, right? You cannot have that simple conversation with them like यार मैं नहीं करूंगी, मैं पहले नहीं फोन करूंगी, मैं पहले बात नहीं करूंगा, whatever. So we just make things complicated. I'm sure you all can agree. So what that social relationship needs is healing. You both need to talk to each other. So the cure in that case is talking to each other. So we've talked about emotional healing, we've talked about physical healing, we've talked about social healing. Similarly, there are things like spiritual healing. Bachpan se, at least the families who are religious, so we have one divine figure जिसको हम गॉड बोलते हैं, राइट? उनको हम शुरू से देखते आ रहे हैं कि हमारे पेरेंट्स प्रे कर रहे हैं, एंड दे से कि यू ऑल्सो हैव टू डू द सेम. सो at some point in your life, maybe when you are not a child and when you step away from home, you don't feel that connection. आपको लगता है नहीं, I don't believe in this, I don't want to believe in this, मुझे तो कोई feeling ही नहीं आ रही है. Then some people, they are like that and it's completely okay. Not saying it's a problem, but for people who feel कि हाँ मैं पहले बहुत connected feel करता था but now अभी मुझे पता नहीं क्या हो गया, I want to feel connected again but I don't know how to do it. So for them there is something called a spiritual healing. How do you establish that connection with the divine self so that you feel normal again, right? Or there could be things like self healing, wherein you think कि यार when I've actually, there are a lot of friends who were in college and school, they were like literally the toppers, and now where they are in their lives, they are not really happy about the situation. They used to top in the class, सब कुछ सबसे पहले ही करना था, and they used to feel really proud about themselves. But abhi now they are just they are married and they are not working and they are feeling very unfulfilled in their life. वो बोल रहे कि यार क्या ही फायदा इतना पढ़ाई करने का जब ये सब करना. So within themselves they are not feeling very fulfilled. तो this is one example of self healing कि हमारी जो base values हैं जिनके ऊपर we really thrive, like कुछ हर एक person की कुछ base values होती है. Like for me as an example, I crave power. Like I really love, I want to be in the powerful situation. I crave a very successful career. I want to have it. If I don't have it, I'm going to go crazy. I crave, similarly, I crave a very close-knit family. Similarly, everybody has a certain set of base values. अगर आपको वो base values नहीं मिलती life में, then you feel unfulfilled. तो उसको कैसे ठीक करेंगे? That process is called self-healing. So I hope by all these examples, I am able to justify what does healing mean. Healing is simply a process of taking action to promote the recovery and overall improve the quality of your life. Like जो आपकी basic expectation है कि ऐसा होना चाहिए, उसको वापस उस state में लेके आना, that process is called healing. We have heard the term healing in the context कि हमें चोट लग गई and there is a wound and it needs to heal by medicine. That concept applies to different areas of life as well, like emotional, social, spiritual, self, whatever. There could be a lot of different types of healings that I'm missing, but I hope with these examples I have done some justice and I've provided you what does healing actually mean. Now, the way we cure all of these things, it could be a combination. Like you could take medical advice for these, you could take psychological advice for these, you could change your lifestyle deliberately and basically change the specific circumstance and make it work the way you want to make it work, and that for you would be called as healing, right? In simple words, it's just basically becoming the best version of yourself and living the life that you want to lead in your own terms. That is what a healing is called. So if I were to just summarize this whole video, because I'm just going to wrap up the video here, healing is simply what every person needs to understand. Reason, because हमारे को 30 years 40 years हो गए हैं and a lot has happened to our body physically emotionally, तो हमें कभी भी उसको प्रोसेस करने का टाइम ही नहीं मिला, राइट? कभी हमें किसी ने लाइक हमारी स्कूल बुक्स में तो ऐसा कोई कोर्स नहीं होता जो हमें बोलता है टू टेक केयर ऑफ योर सेल्फ, टू टेक केयर ऑफ योर वेल बींग इमोशनली एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. नोबडी टेल्स इट. फिजिकल वेलबींग टेक केयर करने को बोलते हैं, इमोशनल वेलबींग टेक केयर करने को कोई नहीं बोलता. सो नोबडी एवर एक्चुअली टोल्ड अस, बट in my opinion it's really important for all of us to understand what do we actually want, how do we want our life to look like, so that we feel fulfilled from within. And the process of getting from point A to point B in your life, this is the current state of mind, this is the end goal, this is the the future state of mind, which is the most fulfilled version of you. So the process of going from this unfulfilled version of you to this fulfilled version is called the process of healing. That is as simple as that. So I hope the next time you hear the word healing, because I am going to talk a lot about healing on this podcast, because this podcast, as you know, is about self transformation. कैसे करेंगे self transformation? अपने आप को heal करके, internally heal करके, जो इतनी सारी चीजें अंदर, emotions दब गए हैं अंदर because of the childhood experiences you have had, how you need to basically take one of those, cure, and then just let it go, move on. उसको अंदर दबा के नहीं रखना है. So that is what self transformation is, that is what the process of healing is. So healing is one part of the entire self transformation journey. So I'm going to stop with that. I hope that this has provided you some context. Do let me know if you are if you have any questions regarding this, or if you want to hear something similar about healing. Until then, I'm going to see you all next week with another interesting video. Bye bye.